We are live. Hello, everyone. Hello, George. How you doing today?
What's happening?
Yeah, not much. How you going, Leroy?
Hey,
I'm not going to say it this week, man. I'm not gonna be lulled into saying it. Let's say hello to chat. We have Mr. Von Stugel. Great to see you again. Is this a Rob or George topic? We all know what to expect and get a list. I gave George a whole list of different topics we could talk about, and he wants to do the supervillains. So here we are. Black Rose
wait,
Comics.
supervillains is only DC. Are we doing villains or are we doing supervillains?
Well, what's the difference?
One's DC and one's all the villains.
All the villains.
Okay.
I didn't know there was a difference. Is there a difference, George?
He's saying the ones from DC are super and the ones from other are not. That's the joke.
Oh, Leroy.
It was a nerd joke. It's a nerd joke
big.
for George.
Corey's here. Black Rose. George is there. Who else we got? Scrolling down.
And I would like to correct George, by the way. There is a secret society of supervillains, and we'll be talking about that.
Ooh.
Okay. Replicant. I love the name. It reminds me of someone. Billy Basco, Clayton. Basco. Good to see you in the house. K Manifesto. Johnny Cage. Good to see you back, man. Haven't seen you. We've seen you around lately, but you were gone for a little bit, so it's good to see you back. And Amanda B. Good to see you. So we're going to do top 10 best villains from comics only. So there's no manga. Sorry, B-Rose. Sorry, Billy. This was really hard for me because you took out all the good villains by getting rid of the manga as a choice.
It was pretty easy for me, actually.
I had to whittle it down from 50, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
Really? All right. Who wants to go first?
Wait, before we go, let's let the chat know that, when we're going through each number, just shout out your number and then your villain if you're going along with us. So if you got a number 10, just put 10 and whoever, so that way we know what's going on.
And also that, they can be however you want to decide to put them in your list is fine. It can be most powerful, it can be coolest, it can be best designed, it can be, impactful on your life, whatever you want to do. Jason from Unhinged, you're here for some good entertainment.
It's a good question.
I know. All right. Let's go with George.
Yep. I'll share my screen.
Yep. Number 10.
Hold on. Show your entire screen.
It's the Joker.
Tell me when you can see, because I only got one screen here.
Kingpin.
Yep. Number 10, Kingpin. Probably, people probably know him from Spider-Man originally. John Romita creation with Stan Lee. Kind of a boring character at first, if you ask me. Kingpin, a crime kind of a thing. But Frank Miller took him over and put him into the Daredevil universe, which is when people started noticing him. And Rob, tell me, are you familiar with this 3-panel grid here?
No.
So when Frank Miller took over the Kingpin, he wanted to change, this is just like some chubby mob boss into like a true evil villain who's like hell-bent on just ruling the entire city of New York. So he did it with this 3-panel grid. He started by showing the character how he was. He lit this cigarette, and see how the lighting effect changes on the screen? This is when the character morphed into what Frank Miller envisioned him to be. And he has talked about this in the past. And if anyone's interested in reading a good story with the Kingpin in it, if you're familiar with this design of this character, this is Bill Sienkiewicz. This is what they used. This is what they used in the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse design. But it's a graphic novel by Frank Miller, Bill Sienkiewicz that I absolutely adore, and I highly recommend it.
Cool. What do you think of that choice, Leroy?
Yeah.
It's funny though, you could make a top 10 just from Spider-Man villains and Batman villains. They're all so many of them are exceptional.
They're heavily represented in my list.
What have you got, Leroy?
At number 10, I have the leader of the secret society of supervillains, Talia al Ghul.
Oh, okay, interesting. Why?
The daughter of Ra's al Ghul. She's like I don't. Most like all Batman, she's not like completely like villainous, but she's a bad guy. You know, she's a villain. I don't know. I thought she was hot.
Nice. That sounds like
Do
something.
you want to see a
Corey-
picture of her?
Yeah, if you've got a picture, of course.
We got a lot of number 10s coming in from the chat too, Rob, when you get a chance.
Yeah. Yeah, she's cool. So she's like an assassin type chick, yeah?
Well, I mean, yeah, she's an Al Ghul, right? Just like, you know, Ra's. It's his daughter. So she's ever present around, depending on what run you're talking about, ever present in Gotham. You know, and you know, Bruce Wayne tries to get with it. He tries to get with everything. So how can you blame him?
Yeah, that's fair enough. I downloaded all the pictures, but they've disappeared somewhere. So I'm just going to have to bring mine up. My top 10, and this person would be a lot higher. It's just I'm sick to death of them, and that is the Joker.
I see what you mean by being sick of him. It's a good character, but man, like everywhere.
All the time, just never stops.
You're bitching about it, but you put it in your top 10. Interesting.
Yeah, what? Like I said, like, you know, maybe 10 years ago, he would have been closer to number one spot for me. But now it's just like, just stop. Give me a break. Give me a break from the Joker. Right. Let's have a look at these top 10s. We've got Shredder, Ninja Turtles. That's a good one. Jigsaw.
Oh, yeah, from Punisher. You know who he is?
No.
His face was all cut up, so it looks like a jigsaw puzzle on his face. I think they even put him in the TV series. But yeah, that was a good choice.
Scorpion.
Another good one.
Cameron Hodge.
I think that's from Spider-Man.
You don't know, George?
Extinction Agenda. I think that was a crossover from X-Men. So yeah, that's why I wouldn't know.
Fowler says Kingpin's top 5 for him. Corey says Riker. I think he's talking about Riker from my book. Reverse Flash. Yeah, see, I like the Reverse Flash.
Me
What
too.
about you guys?
That's a great choice.
Yeah. All right. 9, George. What do you got?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't come prepared here. Share screen.
Was in Warzone. Mopig's reverse sloth. Reverse sloth. Who do we have here, George?
This is Green Goblin from Spider-Man. The kind of thing that pushed this character down on my list is that even though he has kind of been brought back from the son of Green Goblin, I like the original Norman Osborn iteration the best. And Rob, I'm going to assume you don't know much about this character, but he actually knew Peter Parker's identity. It was probably the most popular Spider-Man villain in the first 100 issues or so. And actually, his most famous claim to fame, if you don't know this or not, was he actually murdered Peter Parker's girlfriend, Gwen Stacy.
So is he the son of Norman Osborn?
No, this is Norman Osborn.
Okay.
Like this is the iteration of the character that I like. In the comics later on, Spider-Man faced Green Goblin again, and actually had him impaled and killed in the comics. Once this version of the character died, to me, the character died with him. I know they brought him back because he was popular and they made his son, but his son was always kind of like mentally disturbed, whereas Green Goblin was just a villainous character, and I liked how villainous he was. Like, you had some empathy for Harry. You know, there was moments where he kind of was lucid again, but Norman was just a pure evil person.
Leroy, what you got?
The Riddler at number 9.
The
Edward
Riddler.
Nygma.
Wow. And why?
Why not?
All right. Love it. Fantastic.
Well,
All
he's
right,
okay. You want to know more about the Riddler? He's like the most
Yes.
intelligent of Batman's adversaries, like his villains, his stable of villains. He's the most intelligent, and much like George, he really loves puzzles. There you go.
Ooh, he loves puzzles. All right, my number 9 again would be much higher, but I'm sick of this character as well. I absolutely loved them when I was younger. Magneto.
Mm.
I thought his powers were so cool.
I'm gonna go use the restroom.
Just the ability to, the master of magnetism, to manipulate metals. I thought that was so sick when I was a kid. But it's just been done like over and over and over again, and just a bit over it.
There was a
Well,
time. There was a time in the '80s, Rob, where Magneto was leading the X-Men, so he was no longer a villain. So I kind of like, and I know he's gone back to that, but I think the ultimate story arc for him was to be redeemed. I think Marvel liked him so much as a villain, they kind of made him villainous again. But it's tough for me to see him like this because I kind of remember those days. But yeah, no, I know this guy's super, super popular.
And I've got to say, like, I didn't like the casting in the movie of him either, because it wasn't an accurate representation of what I saw as a kid. Like, the dude he's buff and old. He's not skinny and frail. Maybe people will disagree with me there.
Well, Mo Big says an overlooked cool aspect of Magneto is that his name is Magnet with an O at the end of it.
Genius.
Yeah, Fowler says he was too old. The movie's kind of beating cool characters in the dirt. I agree with Rob. Yeah, they really are. Carnage, George?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What do you think?
A Spider-Man villain, super popular. You go to cons and you'll see people dressed like Carnage all the time. Good choice. There's a few others up there too.
Mr. Sinister. Mm-hmm.
X-Men.
Yeah.
A lot of X-Men
George,
fans today.
you love X-Men, don't you?
I like what Billy said, though. He actually agreed with my pick.
What is Billy?
Green Goblin.
Very good. Very good. Mandius from Watchmen.
Watchmen.
Very popular pick, actually. Like, I was looking through top 10s of villains, and he was in there a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Good to see Clayton's in the house. Hey, Clayton, how you doing, man? So, yeah, that's my 9. What do you got for 8, George?
Yep. Number 8, I got Solomon Grundy. Are you familiar with this?
Born on Monday.
Born on a Monday. Are you familiar with this character at all, Rob?
Very, very loosely.
Kind of brainless, mindless, like resurrected from the dead character. Superhuman strength. Obviously can't be killed because he's already undead. He's clashed with some of the big boys, like Superman. He's fought Superman and such. But there's been moments where he is a little more coherent, and those stories always are interesting. Ultimately, he is a villain, so that's why he made my list. I also think it's a really cool design for a character. It's always fun to see Grundy battle, because like if he's battling Superman, it's going to be an all-out brawl. But there's issues where he fights like the Green Arrow, who's completely powerless.
And Batman.
And Batman and Batman. So I just like Grundy a lot. It's one of my choices.
And how does one defeat him, or how has he been defeated in the past?
Brute strength from Superman, outwitted by Batman,
which isn't hard to do.
Leroy likes Batman. Leroy?
What was that, Rob?
What you got? Number 9, or is it 8?
8. I have Oswald Cobblepot, better known as Penguin. I don't like how they did with him in the Tim Burton movie, because he's really a gangster in the books. Like that's how he is. But so I didn't really like him when I was a kid, like in the movie, because it wasn't how I read him. He was completely different. But yeah, as a book villain, I got number 8. I have the Penguin.
I mean, my only interaction with him as a character is from that movie, and he seems lame as hell. So, I mean, how do they make him so cool for him to hit your top 10, Leroy?
Well, like he's not as crippled as he is in the movie, right? He has that umbrella. He kicks ass with that umbrella. He uses like a weapon. So it's just a lot different in the books than he is in that movie. So.
Mm-hmm. All right, my number 8 is one of George's favorites, his favorite franchise, Mr. Sinister from X-Men. I just thought, when I first saw him in the X-Men cartoon from the 90s, I thought he was sick as hell. He looked wicked, totally scary. He manipulates DNA or genes or whatever it is he does, and he's really cool. That's pretty much all I've got for him.
How many of your choices are based on cartoons?
Probably a lot. Probably a lot.
So you're not doing a comic book; you're doing a cartoon villains.
Well, I mean, all the comics I read when I was a kid were Phantom and Judge Dredd, and there's not that many villains from those franchises that I remember. So my introduction to the mainstream has come through cartoons.
Well, I feel like I wasted my time. I thought this was comic books because George was here.
Well, you get what you get. You get what you get.
So Mo is predicting my number 1, and I don't want to let him down, but he says it's going to be Vandal Savage. So
Ram Task with Sinestro, Bane. We had another one. Sinestro again from Dojo Kun. Oh, Eric McIntyre says the last 10 US presidents. Bam, that's completed.
So we had. Did you mention Matthew Fowler, Rhino?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
that was the second appearance of the Shredder on the list, by the way. I just want to point out he was killed in the very first issue of the comic.
Shredder.
Yeah, the very first issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, he was killed. They brought him back, but it wasn't him. I know he has an ongoing role in the cartoon, but in the comic, he was killed in the first issue.
All right, number 7, George.
Oh, yeah, sorry, my fault. I was getting excited. Number 7, I think we'll have this one on the list again. But my number 7...
Sticking up for me.
My number 7 is Poison Ivy.
Yeah.
One of the more interesting Batman villains. I like the takes where they show her not as like a pure villain, but trying to protect the flora. So is she really being a villain, or is she just protecting what she loves? I always like that spin on it. I know there was a very popular video game franchise where she was actually portrayed almost like as a heroine. I always like it more when she's portrayed as a villain. And I think a lot of these artists like drawing her as well.
She's super hot. Come on, let's not beat around the bush.
So
she's really hot.
But I mean, she's appeared in so many other comics besides Batman. I've seen her in Swamp Thing. I've seen her in Superman. She just works. And when you can go outside that Batman realm, if you're a Batman villain, and hold your own, I know you're a good character, and I know she's a good character.
Nice. I approve.
Vanessa says, is she a villain or an environmental activist? You decide.
Although she didn't make my top 10.
She didn't?
No.
Oh.
So I quite like her as well. How do they write her though? Like, she should be really powerful based on what she can do. So is she a hard villain to defeat, or is she one that seems to get defeated more easily?
Rob needs to read some Batman, George.
Yeah, I mean, you could. I guess it all depends on how the writer is approaching it. You could make it where she, can control an entire city, and you could make it where she can't defeat someone in hand-to-hand combat. It really depends on each of the writers' portrayals.
Oh my!
What
do you got? What do you got, Leroy?
I've got Victor Zsasz as number 7.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I think he's probably the Dark Knight's darkest villain as far as tendencies. He's he kills people mostly with a knife and then marks himself with a tally every time he does. And he was created by probably my favorite artist of all time.
Norm Brayfield.
That's it. So there you go.
Excellent choice.
I actually have Poison Ivy as my number 7 as well.
Oh,
so there you go. Double
great
up.
minds think alike.
Well, one of us has a great mind.
A
Number
lot of
6,
good-
George.
A lot of good number 7s in the chat.
Oh yes, who we got? We got Brainiac from K Manifesto. Mr. Freeze, really cool character. Calendar Man. Who's Calendar Man, George?
I'm not.
He's Batman. Batman villain.
Yeah.
Typhoid Mary.
Typhoid Mary from Daredevil comics, created by Anna Senti. Really, really excellent character. Good choice, Matthew Fowler.
Mephisto. Yeah. Red Skull.
Another good one.
The Reaper. Titania.
I like Mo Biggs' number 6 when you get there.
He's jumping ahead.
Yeah, that is a villain. I would agree with that.
Right,
That's actually underrated. I think it should be higher.
We gotta take this seriously, everybody.
Poison Ivy is easily defeated by calamine lotion. We've got some more people pop in here, which is great. We've got Luis, Hicks Villain, Deja Vanessa. Who else we got? Eric. Yeah, there's probably more of you I've missed, but yeah, thanks for popping in, guys. George, next up, who you got?
My number 6 is Dr. Anton Arcane. And Rob, I'm gonna just assume that you don't know who this character is.
Yep.
He is basically Swamp Thing's main protagonist. He's a evil doctor who experiments on people and creates these monstrosities here that he refers to as his unmen. He does eventually get killed by Swamp Thing, but is resurrected and comes back again, even more powerful, of course. The thing he's most known for is his niece was Abby Arcane, who's Swamp Thing's love interest, and she was married to Matthew Cable. Anton Arcane actually turned himself into a fly, went into Matthew Cable and possessed him, and then went home to the wife and did stuff, which I won't get into, but it's about as villainous and disgusting as you can imagine. Just a true evil and dark villain, and deserve to be on the list. We're not doing only DC.
Yeah, all villains. It just
Speak for yourself.
Leroy and George have a bias towards DC. Yeah,
I have equal parts. You guys are just not paying attention.
I'm doing all DC.
Leroy, what you got?
I got Scarecrow, Jonathan Crane. I love him in the books. I think of all the movies, the most faithful adaptation was in the Nolan movie. Him as Jonathan Crane as Scarecrow in the Nolan movie was almost as I pictured him in the book. So I really liked him in the movie. I think he's a great character. He's a professor. He's smart. He dabs at chemistry. There comes the nightmares from the hallucinogens he puts out. I like the character. Really great. Really good job in the Nolan movie of portraying him too, whoever that guy's name is.
Yeah, he's been in a few things. I can't remember what his name is though. My pick is from Judge Dredd. It is Mean Machine. I thought this dude was so cool when I was younger. He has this dial on his head, and he turns it. It goes from 1 to 4, if I remember correctly. And the higher it goes, the more insane and crazy he gets. He likes headbutting people, and he was really cool, man. He was really cool. I really dug Mean Machine. Do you know Mean Machine, George?
I think he was in the Sylvester Stallone movie, or am I mistaken?
He was, yeah.
I remember him from that. I remember that dial. Once you described that dial turning, I remembered that.
He's like, Ma and Pa. Like, he's like a inbred hick type mutant type guy. So yeah, it was really cool dude. I enjoyed him immensely.
Lots of
what
good
do we
chat
got in chat? Let's go. Jeez, we've got some good one. Eric Weathers Cheeto.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you missed that last night, Rob. Yeah.
Oh, was it good?
No.
Elektra.
That one's interesting. I don't view her as a villain. even though she was a hired assassin for the Kingpin.
Is she a woman, George? No, just answer the question.
Yes.
Have you ever seen her make a sandwich before?
Oh my god. Sabretooth. Whirlwind. Who's
Whirlwind. That one's from Iron Man. That one's out of nowhere. Dojo must be a huge Iron Man fan.
Lots
Sinestro.
of Sinestros in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Mojo.
Oh, from Longshot. Good choice.
The Mauler twins from Invincible. Yeah, that's cool, man. That's a cool. I should have put some Invincible people in there. That's
You
a good
skipped Mr. Von
Shocker?
Stugel. Yeah. Shocker was in the very first comic book I ever got. He was the villain in that. It was a Marvel Tales. It was a reprint of a Spider-Man. It was the very first comic book I ever read.
Johnny K's just throw Elektra into the river. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, you do. It's a shot at George.
All right. Next up, George, what you got?
Mm-hmm.
Where we at? Number 5?
Yeah, we're at number 5. I'm gonna hit leave studio by accident. I know it. So number 5 for me, Rob. Let me know if you know this character or not. The Hobgoblin.
I know all of these characters, but I don't know them in any sort of depth.
So Marvel knew they lost out on the Green Goblin, and Harry Osborn wasn't cutting it. So they created this storyline where someone stumbled into Norman Osborn's lab and found his formula for the Hobgoblin serum, the Green Goblin serum, and then he became the Hobgoblin. And this was a huge storyline that was going around where no one knew who he was and like, who's the identity? Who's this person? Of course, Marvel botched it by the end. Still heartbroken about that 30 plus years later. But
who was it?
That was what messed it up. Like the person that was supposed to be, there were some rumors who it was going to be. They killed him off. It was just bad. I can't even explain it to you. It's too long of a story for that. But just suffice it to say, the Hobgoblin was really, really cool for a time. And I loved him so much. I still love him to this day.
Cool.
Yep.
Leroy.
Joker.
Okay, cool.
I mean, we already talked about him. I don't feel like I need to get into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone in the world knows who Joker is and what his story is. Mobig says God King. No one? Do anyone know who that is?
Yeah.
Here's the question, George. Lex Luthor. What do you feel about villains that don't really have a power set? Can they be up there in terms of the top villains?
Well, it's funny you say that because my number 10 was Kingpin.
Yeah.
And if you think about the Kingpin, he's very similar in a lot of ways to Lex Luthor. Luthor is more, he wants more global conquest. And he's obviously much more intelligent. But I always liked the little facet of Kingpin being married. Like something about him being so villainous and evil, but he still had someone he cared about. Whereas Lex Luthor is just pure evil. That was one of the reasons why I always like Kingpin just a little bit better. But yeah, absolutely, you can have characters that aren't powered be on this list.
My next one doesn't have a power.
Cool. Billy says Hobgoblin as well. Kingpin from Fowler. Black Rose, Ra's al Ghul. Overkill from Spawn. Deathstroke. Clayface.
A lot of good ones in chat. A lot of good ones.
Good to see Shane's just arrived. We're doing top 10 villains. Eddie Winkler says Jawbreakers. Interesting.
No, God King is from
God King is from
Jawbreakers.
Jawbreakers.
Oh, right.
You should be embarrassed, Rob, for not knowing that.
Well, I haven't bought it, have I? So there you go. George, next.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry. What was what was
you didn't go yet.
Yeah, you didn't go, Rob.
Oh, Judge Death.
Okay, we'll get to mine.
We're at 4, right? Right, George? 4.
Yes, we're at 4.
Craven the Hunter.
So number 4 is Craven, who a lot of people would look back and say kind of a weak character, just like a big game hunter kind of a thing, which is how he started. People look at, he wears leopard prints and elf slippers and such. But are you familiar with this storyline, Rob?
Nope.
So this is Craven's last hunt. In this story, Craven has gone completely mad, and he is convinced that Spider-Man is his biggest prey. So he wants to hunt down Spider-Man. And in the very first issue, he seemingly kills him and indeed does bury him. But he doesn't want to just kill him. He wants to show everybody that he's actually better than Spider-Man. So he dons his identity and starts becoming Spider-Man, going around defeating all the villains and such. But he's completely brutal and insane. And whereas he's scaring the populace, he thinks he's victorious. So once he's finally done, Spider-Man is now broken out of the grave. The Craven is convinced that his life's work is done. He has beaten Spider-Man and proven to the world that he is now the greatest hunter. He takes a rifle, puts it in his mouth, and blows his brains out.
Cool.
And he remained deceased, I think, for over 30 years. So that might not be why you see him around anymore. I think Marvel did eventually bring him back. But for a time, it was just about as violent a Marvel comic I ever read in my life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It scarred you. It scarred you, George.
I loved it.
Scarred you in a good way. You enjoyed it. Unhinged says, Judge Death was going to be the villain in a Dredd movie, but they couldn't go anywhere with it. Would have been cool. Yeah, it really would have been cool. Eddie's given me a lot of stick. He's like, does Rob even read comics? Yes, just not Marvel DC. I was brought up on Phantom and 2000 AD. So, unless you want to talk about Call Me Kenneth, I don't have the knowledge that George does. Let's have a look at what Leroy's is.
I got Ra's al Ghul at number 4.
Yeah.
The head of the demon, the leader of the League of Assassins. Everybody knows who Ra's al Ghul is. I think he's better than the Joker. Like, honestly, I know, like, everybody. It's not even being tired of the Joker. I just think, like, he's the mirror of Batman in a lot of ways. So that's why I like him as a villain.
Did you like how they did him in the first movie?
Kind of. They didn't give his complete story, so I was a little bit disappointed in that. Like, I feel like they missed. There was misses there. They missed on some opportunities. But I was glad to see him in a movie instead of that they actually used him. That was cool. So there you go. There's my number 4.
I'm going to go with the person who's the thumbnail for the video, Darkseid.
Great choice. Both of you had great choices there, by the way.
Yeah, as you guys probably are fully aware, as I said, I was raised on 2000 AD and Phantom. So most of my comic interactions with Marvel DC came from movies, the cartoons, and like the cartoon movies. And I just thought the concept of Darkseid, his eye beams, how they move and they like go around, and I thought that was the coolest shit ever. I really did. I thought that was sick. Just something so simple that was just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You want to give us a bit more about Darkseid, George?
I can save it or do it now.
No, save it.
Okay.
Let's have a look at chat. Let's have a look. We've got quite a lot of people saying Craven the Hunter, Matthew Fowler, Venom.
Another good one.
Yeah. Granny Goodness.
Another good one.
I have no idea who that is.
Granny Goodness is from Fourth World. She's with Darkseid.
Okay, cool. Green Goblin. James from Team Rocket. You're welcome, Billy. That's from Pokemon, George. Lex Luthor. Conquest from Invincible. Venom. Galactus. Galactus really interests me. I don't know much about him, but I would be interested to read something about him.
I love Galactus, and maybe I could talk to K Manifesto about this sometime because I don't view him as a villain. But we could talk sometime.
Apparently, I'm getting banned for having Darkseid so high on the list. Jeez. Okay.
Did you mention Dojo Kun? He had to step away, but his number 4 was Killer Frost. He had to put his top 5 back in there, so he has 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Dr. Doom, Killer Frost, Tiger Shark, Bullseye, and Juggernaut. Is
I'm the
Juggernaut a
Juggernaut,
villain, though?
bitch.
All right. Next up, George, what have we got?
Yep. So this one will be kind of anticlimactic because it was just mentioned, but number 3 for me is Rachelle Ghoul.
Oh, okay, cool.
One of the things I like about him that I don't respect about the character from Marvel is Raish was the one that said we need to provide harmony on Earth, and to do that we have to kill half the populace. That was always his storyline. It was never Thanos's. That wasn't the reason why Thanos wanted to kill half the population. That was Raish's storyline. So he is completely mad, but he is driven by means that are in some way noble. He wants there to be harmony, but he views the murder of people to be
Necessary evil.
Yeah.
He is, like I said, he's the mirror of Batman in a lot of ways. Like it's interesting.
This is one of the more iconic covers from Batman in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to know something about Raish, I recommend this graphic novel by Denny O'Neil, Norm Bracewell.
Great book.
It's called Birth of the Demon and explains to everyone how he became who he became.
It talks about the pit of Lazarus, right?
Yeah, the Lazarus pit right there. And as a little side note to all the people listening and to you, Rob, too, my favorite ever Joker story was he was mortally wounded. I don't know if you know this, but when Rachel Gould goes into the Lazarus pit, when he emerges, he's now rejuvenated so he can live longer, but he's driven mad.
Mm-hmm.
So when the Joker was placed into the Lazarus pit to rejuvenate him because he was dying, he emerged and he went sane. So he finally realized all of the things he had done throughout his life, all the people he had hurt.
All the little things you miss in actual comic books, Rob, right here.
It was amazingly great story, and I really recommend it.
All right, that's really interesting. Yeah, like I would, if you guys gave me like a top 5 of the best comic books, I'd read them. Like I read Court of Owls, that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Scott Snyder, good writer.
Yeah. Leroy, what you got?
The Court of Owls.
No. Really?
Yep. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Talk about it, Rob. Go ahead.
Oh, mate, I read it so long ago. I can't even remember it. You tell me.
Highly trained assassins. Yeah, like, those guys are like martial artists to the max. You talk about people that don't have like a superpower. They're just trained freaking ninjas. So it's a secret society. It's just dark intrigue, I guess. So it's not a single person though. So it's kind of cheating a little bit.
John Byrne, Man of Steel run is a must read. I'm not a huge Superman fan though, so it's going to have to be really good, George.
I didn't recommend it.
I know, but like,
when I do recommend, I got you. Yeah, I understood.
My number 3. Again, I know a little bit about this character, but not a lot. I know his motivations, but damn, what a sick character design. I think this is probably one of the best, honestly. And it is Mr. or Dr. Freeze, whichever one.
Technically, you're right on both.
Mm-hmm.
Great character, but if my kids were to see me have him on the list, they would be upset because they love him. Like, they don't view him as a villain. They know him more from the animated series than they do the comic. So, what do you like about him, though?
The Arnold Schwarzenegger version.
Oh
no. I just think because he's trying to. His wife is in a state of
suspended animation.
Yep. Yes, thank you. And he's trying to find a cure for it, right? And I don't know how he looks like this now, but I think he looks sick. Like, he's got the whole thing over his head, the glass protection, so he can breathe, and he does the whole ice.
I used to beat you.
He was a corny character in the 60s and 70s. And then Bruce Timm really changed that character. And everything you see now, all the images that you're seeing are all Bruce Timm's representation of him. But prior to that, he was a corny character.
Look at this. Like, this looks sick, man.
He's a great character. Like I said, I don't view him as a villain, But oh man, that's so great. With that, the ballerina there and the snow globe for his wife Nora.
It probably is the worst adaptation of a character into a movie. Is this character right here? It was a travesty what they did.
The whole movie was bad. Let's not talk about it.
Okay.
There's a lot of number 3s in the chat.
I just like how good a design is this. Like if you just take away the story and how he's been portrayed or whatever, that looks sick. I don't care what anyone says. That looks top notch. If I ever design something like this to that skill level, I would be so happy. I'd think he looks crazy. Let's have a look at number 3s. We've got quite a few. Joker. From Ram Task. He's now a cliche but iconic. Doomsday. I really like Doomsday's design as well. Ozymandias again. Stryker from X-Men, George, one of your favorites. Venom.
That's another list for Venom there. He was mentioned before.
Yeah. Norman Osborn. Insomnia from the Lucian. Trigon from Teen Titans. That's an interesting one. Lex Luthor. Mr. Freeze is in honorable mentions. Arnold had the best puns in the movie. Yeah. Okay, I still see you all.
Oh my gosh, that was terrible.
That's how he does it, man. What can I say? All right, George, what do you got up? What do you have next?
Number 2, I have, and he's been mentioned a few times in chat already, but Dr. Doom.
Doom.
And he's probably most known for his time with the Fantastic Four, but you've seen him in other Marvel comics as well. Probably the most famous Marvel villain, if you ask me. I know Spider-Man has the most famous ones, as far as a rogues gallery, but as far as individual villain for Marvel, I'm going to say it's Dr. Doom. And he was heavily represented when the comic was first out. You see some of this stuff now and you're like, oh, it's old comics are kind of corny, what have you. If I could recommend any Dr. Doom comic to anyone to read, it's this one right here. It's Doctor Strange and Dr. Doom, Triumph and Torment. It's written by Roger Stern, who created the Hobgoblin, but it's illustrated by Mike Mignola. And in this book, Rob, Dr. Doom, every year on his mother's birthday, tries to go back to hell to free his mother's soul. And this time he teams up with Doctor Strange to travel to hell to free her soul.
Okay.
Just a fantastic, fantastic book. Very moving. And of course, it's illustrated by Mignola, so the art's going to be great. If you get a chance, pick up a reprint of this. You will not regret it.
All right. Cool. Leroy?
George will have to be the historian here because I'm not but I just know. Okay, so then my top 2 are from my 2 favorite runs of any book, and of course Batman. This is a mini run. It's 12 issues. The Long Halloween. It's Harvey Dent, Two-Face.
Okay.
If Dark Knight got me into comics, the Long Halloween kept me into it. Kept me reading Batman. So, and he was the final villain in the Long Halloween. So
I like how everyone has him at number 2 as well. That's just so fitting.
Yeah, I'd love to have it for the same reasons. It was the first time I had heard about Two-Face. It was in the Long Halloween. I was just a kid, but I still love that. I have all my original first run floppies of it. I've got the trade paperback of it. If you haven't read it, Rob, you absolutely need to read The Long Halloween.
That is a great idea from Eric. We should do a top 10 George, and we can also do George and Leroy recommendations. I'd be really interested in seeing that because, there's thousands upon thousands upon thousands of comics, and you don't want to pick up something that's shit, which may be hard to do these days.
What you're at number 2 though? Before you get to the chat, what's your number 2, Rob?
My number 2 is Apocalypse from X-Men.
He was mentioned in the chat as well.
He was. Correct me if I'm wrong here, George, but watched an interview with Stan Lee, and he said he'd released multiple comics and they're all failing until he released Fantastic Four. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Is that the one that turned it all around for me?
That absolutely correct. He said he figured he was going to lose his job, and his wife said, well, if you're going to lose your job, write something that you would want to write. And he wrote Fantastic Four #1.
Johnny Cage is asking me if I'm excited about the Long Halloween animated series. I'm very worried. I saw what they did to the Killing Joke, and
Gotham by Gaslight.
I'm very, very worried. That's what I'd say about that.
I didn't see the Killing Joke. I saw Gotham by Gaslight, and I'm never watching any of those animated movies again based on comics.
That's interesting because animation and art wise, they're all very good. So I guess it comes down to the story, whether or not you like it. And it seems like they've messed it up for you there, George.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2's Two-Face.
I'm pretty proud of the chat right now.
Yeah.
Magneto and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Necron and the Black Lantern.
That is a great choice. I've actually just recently been rereading the entire Blackest Night saga, and he actually generates the black rings that resurrect the dead that become the Black Lanterns. Rob, great choice, Eric.
I've never really got into the whole Green Lantern thing, but that sounds interesting to me.
You need to go now. Yeah, you need trade paperbacks, my friend. There's about 15 that you need to go pick up just on this top 10 that we're going through
right now.
Now,
who else we got? The Joker, the Dog Walker, Cecil's arch nemesis. 90s version Apocalypse.
A lot of Apocalypse.
Two-Face. Yep. Parallax. Jasper says, what has Rob read?
People are throwing their #1s out a little bit early, but I see some good ones.
You missed my number 2 pick, Rob. Where is that? Mo Biggs.
All right, let's get to #1s.
B-Rose. That was not worth it, Mo. Okay, number 1, George, what do you got?
All right, we mentioned them already, but my #1 is Darkseid. So, created by Jack Kirby for the Fourth World, introduced, though, in his run on Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen. He became the main protagonist in the entire Fourth World storyline, and then was brought back again after that ended abruptly. And in my mind, the #1 villain in the DC universe, I view him as like the Doctor Doom of DC. And regardless of what anyone else says, I think Starlin stole Thanos off of Darkseid.
Oh, I agree with that. Filthy Marvel.
If you don't know where to start with him, I can't even tell you where to begin. There's an omnibus by Jack Kirby of the entire Fourth World saga. I really highly recommend it. There's just too much to kind of go into, like a quick stream about it. But he is just as powerful as Superman, can hold his own against anyone. And he's completely brilliant, like Lex Luthor level brilliant, and just completely maniacal. He is the best villain.
To you.
To me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what do you got, Leroy?
We got the baddie of baddies. The man who broke the Batman's back. By Comicsgate's very own Graham Nolan, who has nothing to do with it. The star of Nightfall, the Nightfall run, Bane. My #1 villain.
That's a good choice.
That one. That's Bane. Yes, sir.
That's a good choice.
Also my #1 choice. So
Whoa.
there you go. Yeah. Why is he #1, Leroy?
You need to pick up Nightfall and you need to read it
to
understand. Like he broke Batman. He not only broke him physically, he broke him mentally in that book, and it was a major thing. The 90s, when that run was going on, it was a big deal. And like I said, between Two-Face and Bane, those are my 2 favorite runs, Nightfall and The Long Halloween. Even though The Long Halloween's a maxi series, I still count it as a book. So There you go. I
Uh,
got Bane.
And I think another really, really cool character design as well. Like if you take all the story out of it and just look at the design of the character and the concept, I think it's right up there. It's so cool. Let's see what chat is saying. Is that a real? I'm not even going to say
it's a person.
Dr. Doom, Beyonder, Secret Wars 2.
Yeah, Black Rose says the writing staff at Marvel.
Oh, Darkseid. Darkseid. Eric says Carol Danvers. Oh, jeez. Doc Ock after playing Spider-Man 4. That was that. Yeah, it's cool, man. That's cool. You can have your number one for whatever reason you want. Billy says he picked Beyonder because it's the first villain for his very first comic. That's really cool. Eric says Darkseid is the villain, conqueror of worlds, personification of evil, and Superman's physical and intellectual equal. Darkseid tests Superman like no other villain in DC.
I want to make a confession now. I just picked my top 10 Batman villains to piss Rob off.
You guys had a lot of ones that were the same.
Why would you think it would piss me off?
Every one of my villains was from Batman. Like, I didn't put anybody that wasn't a Batman villain.
But that's the thing. Like, Batman has so many cool villains.
But I thought for sure you would be like, oh, like, why you got to be talking about Batman all the time, Leroy? Damn it. Like, that's what you usually do.
I'll never shame you for your supervillain choices. Other things, maybe, but just not that. That's really cool. I want to do next week. I want to do top 10 books to recommend that you guys recommend. I'll pick them all up. How about that?
Wow.
Like you could be on the hook for 20 books because George and I are going to have different recommendations.
Top 5 each.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Do top 10, but I'll pick up the top 5 from both of you.
And read them. Read them?
I'll read them. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll read them.
All right.
I'll read them. Eddie Winkler says, hey, man, again with Cyclops. What's going on here? Not number one as a villain, but Cyclops was a great villain for some time. And that's why they ruined
Hey, invite Eddie on. Invite Eddie on next week. He wants to come in there. Yeah.
All right. Leroy has a great list, though. But can I put a little bit of a caveat on it, though? Like, I don't really enjoy, like, the magical, unrealistic stories. Right, so
give me an example.
I'm with you. That's why I like Batman. Exactly right. I'm with you. And Punisher. Yep.
Give me an example of something you don't like. Magical. So you don't like Doctor Strange?
Not particularly. No, I don't like. I like magic's fine, right, by itself, but I don't like it when it's intertwined into a superhero universe. I just don't think it works very well. I don't believe it. Billy says. Top 10 animated movies or TV series. That would be really cool. I'd like that one. Don't think anyone else on the panel would. But maybe Billy and I can do one. We've got 6 minutes left. Anything you guys want to bring up?
Don't you have something you want to bring up or no?
I do, but I thought I'd ask you first.
No. Got some big news to share, I think.
Yeah, we've got poster week. So what I've done was, as you can see in the background here, I love all the covers from Replicator. And after seeing the Rob Willis, Kyle Ritter poster in person, I decided I need to get all of them. So that's what I did. I bought all of them as posters. They're 24 by 36 inches. And there's 2 extra copies of each, and I'm going to be releasing them every day. So the first one will be the Clayton Barton one, and I'm going to put that up in just after we go off air. So if you want to get it, it'll be a secret perk. The link for it will be in the updates. So yeah, and you can get it. Any questions about that, George?
Yeah, I do. When you released the poster before, it was $49, no shipping, same price point.
Yeah, it's $50 US, shipping's included. I'll sign it or not sign it if you request. tracking number. It's rolled. It won't be folded. I think that's it. I think that's all.
And how
details.
quickly were you able to fulfill them? Like, if they buy them this week, are you shipping them next week?
Yeah, I mean, I can. Yeah, for sure, I can ship them by the end of the week. That's no problems. I've got the poster tubes, so I just got to drop them at the post office. That they will get to you as long as it takes the post office to send them. So a couple of weeks, if that.
So yeah,
and
Chad,
they look beautiful. They look beautiful.
We're talking about stuff ready to ship right now.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're interested in getting a signed Rob poster, or even unsigned, you said, right?
Yeah, because some people don't want the signature, and that's fine. If you want me to sign the back of the poster, I'll sign the back of the poster. But yeah, everyone that bought the Rob Willis poster and Kyle Ritter poster has said it's sensational. So it really is. They all look great. The lady that does the printing is a perfectionist, so she makes sure the colors is top notch, and she's done a great job.
So are these only available for a limit? I know you only have a couple each, but if they don't sell today, will they be available? Are you only putting them for 24 hours or
24 hours? Yeah. So they're going up today. The first one will go up, and then tomorrow I'll put it up at the same time. And if they haven't sold, I'll take it down.
Okay.
Yeah. George, how are you going with your crazy commitment to the splintering, writing all those extra articles?
Doing well. I was promised to deliver 12 in 60 days. I've submitted 7 so far. Now, they're not all going to be posted right away. Some are committed to like future events. Like he has themes based on the month. 7 are done. 1 I am working on now, and there's going to be a few that have to wait for either a project to launch or me to get a package in the mail to do a review. But with the exception of the 1 I'm working on right now, anything that was able to be written has been done.
And how many of them are campaign reviews?
I expect there to be at least 2, potentially 3. I'm just waiting to get them in the mail.
Awesome. And Leroy, what's happening with you?
Just the normal. George and I are going to do a movie ranking this week up to movies. Our top 10 movies up to 1969. That'll probably happen on Tuesday because Amanda's available on Tuesday. She's not available on Wednesday, George. So we're going to try to do that on Tuesday. Blake from the Splintering and I will have a Monster MD review video out next week. And then that's all I got going on.
That's awesome. All right. So links for both of those are in the description. So make sure you check them out if you can. When is it?
It depends on Blake. It'll be during the week, I'd imagine, sometime during the week.
Yeah, we've got like a minute and a half. I know you guys want to go off and check out Pastor Terry's stream. Maybe you can chuck the link in that in the chat for that, George.
Yeah, everybody in the chat. Sundays, George and I go hang out with. It's a non-CG stream, but they're just good comics fans, and we go hang out in their chat. The channel's called My Nerd Swag, and it's always a good time. We kind of keep it PG in there, though. Great
energy. Like they both of them have really good energy, but especially Pastor Terry. He's full of beans.
Well, we got to go judge his comic haul for the week because I'm sure it wasn't good. We need to go let him know about it.
Awesome. Yeah, and just I think that's pretty much it. I don't really have anything else to add. I think everyone's doing a really good job. It's good to see Dojo Kun do really well with his launch. And
Patrick.
Joe Catapano, Patrick launched Ultra Star today, so you can also check that out. And as we say, it doesn't have to be Replicator, but go back a comic book.
Absolutely.
George,
if chat, there's about 20 some people in here. If you can just hit that like button, Rob's trying to grow his channel and it really helps him out.
Yeah. Thank you, George. And go click on My Nerd Swag's link in the chat and go check it out because it's hard sometimes getting people into these things. So they could also use the support. But yeah, PG guys, keep it PG. Leroy,
I got nothing.
Cool. All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. And we'll do top 10 recommendations from George and Leroy next week, and I'll read them. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
I guess he left.
Rob did.
Yeah, and he didn't end the stream.
I don't see the